So I've been asked to keep this short. My name's Eric Rehm, and I'm an oceanographer with Kakivik, and I also have a background in engineering. So I like to combine science with, hands-on observation. So I'm just going to show you just a little bit of what we did this year with GreenEdge. This is going to be glider data, and I'm sure you all have gotten religion with respect to, the power of gliders and their ability to sample in time and space. So I won't try to pressure you into accepting that religion. I'll assume you've already got it. But let's just take a look real quick at what we did. And what we're looking at here are the trajectories of two gliders, and I'm going to run this animation if I can. I guess I can. So I don't know why. Oops, let's see. Try one more time. Oh, I think it's actually loading. But what we did with two gliders is deploy them. Let's see. I need one down in the south and one a little bit further north. And if this were able to be animated, you would see that as our gliders went and we look at the sea ice concentration edge, we were essentially chasing this marginal ice zone to take a look at the ice edge bloom processes. So that was the objective of GreenEdge. But in the course of doing this, we had to develop some technology or some approach to dealing with how do you navigate gliders in an environment where you might be under the ice. We don't have acoustic underwater navigation on a basin scale. That's actually another project I'm working on. Happy to talk with anyone about that later on. But when you don't have that, you can still put gliders under the ice, but you don't really know exactly where they went, so you have to really understand things about large navigation errors. So there's an observational sort of capacity development of the program here, which I think is applicable to any kind of Arctic location. So that's the kinds of things that we're doing. So for example, and again, these are the pretty pictures that you get from gliders. In fact, this is the, I haven't looked at actually the full resolution data, so this is decimated by 1/12. But again, you can see that the promise of gliders with respect to high resolution sampling is there. We're getting vertical profiles or these, V-type yaws, which are actually really a little bit better than vertical profiles because we are getting some horizontal variability, but we're on the scale of, 1 kilometer as opposed to 5 or 10 kilometers of each ship-based transect. And we're seeing some interesting features here. For example, I'm actually not quite sure what this blob of water is, but we don't know if it's some little sort of mode water eddy. We're actually off the shelf here, so it's probably not the West Greenland shelf current. So the point is, we can see things because of the spatial resolution that you can't see with ship-based sampling. Again, I'm sure you all understand that kind of thing. But these kinds of features are repeatable in all the biogeochemical signals. So what we're seeing here is roughly, this is at date, but roughly, even though there was a turnaround by the glider here, we're looking at going from away from the ice to closer to the ice, and we're seeing, essentially differences in the subsurface chlorophyll maximum. But things like this blob of water, quite evident in both processes related to life, CDOM and backscattering with respect to the investigation of particles, as well as nitrate and oxygen. So again, we know that having the capacity to do these kinds of things in the Arctic is really important. And this is actually a picture of the recovery of the glider in a marginal ice zone just about, less than a month ago. So we can operate in the Arctic. We can do it without having lots of infrastructure. Yes, we are working on the Arctic infrastructure to make these better resolved in time and space under the ice. We're also looking at, as Marie-Hélène mentioned, as part of the Sentinel du Nord program, we're also looking at how can we do more things with the platforms that we have, whether they're larger AUVs like this Munin or a smaller AUV like a traditional glider. And so one of the things that we were interested in, particularly when looking at the acoustics problem, is that the sound channel has this scattering and absorbing layer called ice at the top. And it turns out we don't really know very much about the statistics of the ice. So my first reaction was, after reading some papers about echo sounders, why don't we put one of those on the Munin And then I thought, well, we're already working with a laser ice detector. Why don't we turn that into a LiDAR and actually get vertically resolved measurements of the ice to learn more about, essentially fill in our knowledge gaps. And then I thought, well, I'm an optics guy. If I'm going to shoot a laser at something that might have algae on it, why don't I look for a fluorescence response or a differential absorption response? So that's one of those 40 proposals that Mary Ellen mentioned, which I don't know if it's going to get funded or not. But I think it's actually pretty cool. And you can point it up there, and we essentially get two things for one. We get to know about the ice, statistics, which gives us information for our, essentially acoustic models and other things that we want to know about ice. If maybe just morphology with respect to the ice algae is interesting, and we learn about the ice algae. Just turn it around, run it in a coastal environment, and we start looking at underwater seaweeds. And this is linked again to these themes of Sentinel du Nord, where Northern Sentinel, where we're basically trying to understand what is actually the crop of seaweeds. We don't really know that for the Arctic coastal environments of Canada. Secondly, with the possibility of invasive species, how would we continue to monitor this? And it turns out, just from a bio-optical thing, there hasn't been a whole lot of work at these sort of, what is a branch tree structure like sea ice algae look like from an optics point of view? So there's lots of interesting problems, and we can take a look at two of these with one project. So that's just a sort of a taste of the kinds of things that we've done, the kind of things where we're going and the capacity that we have, and I think it's very complementary with what I understand to be the kinds of things we want to do in the shallower waters, which aren't as applicable to profiling floats. Thank you.